the subject that we're going to talk about today is called digital marketing. Yeah. And there's been, I guess, for many years, what we call a digital transformation that has been underway. And in some ways, the moving industry has been slow to adapt. We've almost come kicking and screaming unwillingly into the digital age at times. Yeah? And then something called the pandemic happened. And all of a sudden, there were some parts of the digital transformation that we had no choice about. We're meeting online right now. Who would have thought it? Yeah. It's not something that we did so much before, but look at us now. We're figuring it out. We're meeting online. And you know what? There's some benefits to it. Nobody would wish the pandemic on anyone. But having said that, as we learn to adapt to this new normal, to this new reality, there are some benefits that if we're adapting, if we're innovating, and if we're learning from the situation that we're in, there are some benefits that we can take away. And meeting online like this is one of them. That's part of the digital transformation. So the other aspect that a lot of you have been engaged with is digital marketing to all different degrees, as we're going to find out in the discussion. Some of you are actively engaged, and some of you are just trying to find out about it right now. So whether you've tried posting on Facebook or LinkedIn, or whether you're refining your website in order to get leads, whether you're working with lead aggregation companies, these are all part of digital marketing. Yeah. So we're going to try to pick a few of those topics to seed the discussion, but I want you to know this is your discussion. Whenever you want, unmute your mic, say hello, and join in the discussion. Okay. To start with, I'd like to introduce the panel that I've invited, and I'm going to ask them to do self-introductions. So, Steve, can we start with you, please?
Yes, hello everybody. I'm Steve Jordan from the Mover magazine. You may well be familiar with the Mover magazine, but you may not necessarily know that we started producing it 10 years ago as a paper magazine with a website attached, and it's now been completely transformed into a digital publication and an app that people will read the magazine on their telephones. And so it's gone from being a traditional magazine into very much a digital publication. And so this subject has been fairly close to my heart for the last year or two.
So now, Brian, if you could introduce yourself, please.
Sure, Ray. Thanks for having me. Welcome, everyone. So I'm the founder of a digital marketing company called Mover Search Marketing. My background, I've been doing this since really 2002. Before I did this, I owned a moving company for 11 years, where we were a member of IAM and did a lot of international moving. What we do is we bring moving customers to our clients' websites through search engine optimization and paid advertising, and we do that for clients all over the United States. The basic idea is that movers want more leads, and we're going to talk more about how we do that, but that's essentially what we do. We bring moving customers to clients through SEO and pay-per-click.
Excellent. Thank you. And now, Francesco, please introduce yourself.
Yeah, hello everyone. Francesco Argiro, Bliss Corporation. We are your partners in Italy. Our group of companies specialized in global mobility. So Bliss Moving for household goods, Bliss Pet for pet relocation worldwide, and Bliss Relo for relocation and DSP services. Very happy to be here and share ideas with you guys.
Excellent. So did I forget anybody on our panel? I don't think I did. Okay, but as I said, you're all on our panel today, so just keep that in mind, and anytime you're ready, just jump in, say hello, and join in the discussion. I'm going to say that I already touched upon it, which is this digital acceleration that's happened because of the pandemic. And whether you're talking about online meetings like this, virtual surveys, how about that? I mean, here we were as an industry just kind of dabbling with virtual surveys, and now it's become a part of our toolkit. It's become an important part of our toolkit in order to provide safe and efficient services and safety to our customers and our own staff. Yeah. So along that line, digital marketing and the digital media, I believe, is becoming more important to all of us. And it's because some of the marketing that we used to do with analog publications, like the Mover magazine at one time was something you could hold in your hand. Now it's a digital publication. And some people, and I talk to a lot of them that are my age, they're not happy about losing that paper. You know, they still like the idea of touching it and being a part of it. Yeah. But there are a lot of benefits to the digital media, like linking and being able to show a video, being able to dive deeper into a subject right there and then that analog media does not provide. Let me start off the discussion by asking anybody in the audience, as well as the panelists, what is the difference between marketing and sales? Anybody take that?
Everybody's too frightened to say, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I believe that the marketing will help you to get sales. So the more you improve your marketing, more people you're gonna reach, and then more sales you'll be able to do. So I would say that marketing is a tool to reach sales.
I think that's a pretty good way to term it. Thank you for that. So, and I think it's an important distinction for us to make as we talk through this session, is that the marketing that we do, we promote our brand, we create products that suit our marketplace, and we constantly get feedback from our customers, and we refine not only our message, but also the products that we bring to the market, right? And then we have advertising campaigns, we have public relation campaigns in order to promote that brand so that we can bring in leads that our salespeople can use to convert into actual orders and revenue, okay? So that distinction between marketing and sales. Anybody want to jump in on that, or is that pretty clear? Okay, so when we talk about digital media, we've got a number of different mediums to talk about, right? We've got social media. Everybody's familiar with LinkedIn and Facebook and things like that, and then online publications. But let's start with social media. Any of you have a presence on social media, and how is that working for you?
Hi, this is Abhilash.
Welcome.
Okay. Yes, I do have a bit of a presence, and I'm quite active on LinkedIn. For some reason, I felt that LinkedIn is nowadays more to do with business, and I keep that kind of difference between Facebook and LinkedIn. So yes, it's one of the most effective medium right now to create some kind of visibility of what you're actually doing, and it's the easiest and cost-effective way to reach more and more people.
Very good. Francesco, you make a lot of use of social media. Is LinkedIn one of the platforms that you favor?
Yes, we have a presence on different platforms. LinkedIn is definitely one of them. So we do use that. And I personally use it on my personal side, as well as a company with the different brands. I can say LinkedIn, for example, works, as Abhilash said, very differently compared to the other social media platform. So I can say each platform has its specific drive, specific rules, specific contents. So first of all, what I can put on the table for discussion is that not all the platforms work in the same way. So first mistake to avoid is to publish the same content on different platforms. It just don't work. So as Abhilash said, LinkedIn is more business driven. So the content would be more suggestions, tips related to business, and different value that we share only on the business side.
That's something important. I'm learning already from this session because I use the same media on Facebook as I do on LinkedIn, but that may not be the best idea. Is that right?
It's not totally wrong, Ray. I mean, as long as you have content, that's fine. I mean, the more content you put on social, the better, and the more visibility you have. So definitely, it's not a mistake. But what I mean is, other than sharing the same contents, let's say on LinkedIn, you should have like sort of a specific content that you share with your audience, with your community. So first of all, you have to drag a community. It can either be like on a corporate level or with your partners all around the globe. Each specific community should have its own content. So let's say if you want to talk to your public, which is a corporate public, then you need to create content to feed them, to nurture them. While if you're talking to your partners, what do they want to listen to? So what do they want to read? You need to create specific content for your target, which is something they can take with them and use it.
So, and the audience, please jump in anytime you've got something to say. But for me, I created a presence on Facebook just for business purposes. I'm shamelessly promoting my business on Facebook. But I wonder sometimes if that's appropriate because Facebook sometimes feels to me like more of a personal, I mean, people are posting what they had for lunch and where they're vacationing. And here I am promoting my business. What's everybody think about that?
I'll take a stab, Ray, if you want. So to jump onto what Francesco said, who's very successful with his online presence, as everyone knows, Facebook is not a search engine. It's not what it's there for. LinkedIn is kind of a search engine, but it's primarily a business search engine. For those of us that need to have a constant stream of new customers that are relocating, moving, even corporate clients, facilities managers, they're not going to search inside Facebook for the terms that bring them to our websites. They're going to search online, and that's primarily Google. So I would just say that if we're talking digital transformation in regards to finding new customers, there's a journey that they all go on that even for most movers, they're not aware. And if you just think about it for a second, if you're thinking of moving from Milan to Bogota, Colombia, it doesn't really matter. There's a process you go through. You start looking for the best neighborhoods, best time to move, what's the climate like, cost of living, how do I move, how do I get residency? There's hundreds of different searches someone might do, and you want to catch that person at some point in that chain. They're not going to search inside Facebook for that. They're going to search on Google. So from our standpoint with what we do, if we're not trying to just build our brand, which Facebook and LinkedIn are good for, but acquire a customer, the marketing side, you really need to be available and dominating online in the search engine for that purpose.
Yeah, and that's very true. And I think these things are going to fit in together as parts of a puzzle because one is branding and awareness. And there's so many target audiences too, because some of us play to the industry colleagues. You know, our message is very clear. Well, for my company, my message is very clear. I'm not trying necessarily to reach moving consumers. I'm trying to reach industry colleagues. Yeah. Whereas a lot of you, especially right now, local business is very important. The international side of our business is challenging at best for understandable reasons. So those of us that are diversified into local moving and office moving, we're kind of glad that we did that, right? But we reach those different audiences in different media. It's not one that's going to do it all. And search is really where the rubber hits the road in some ways, right? But I think social media does have its place in terms of building that brand and driving engagement. Yeah. So
Ray, can I jump in and say something? Just picking up really just what you and Francesco was saying, that I think there is a difference between something like LinkedIn and Facebook. That they're serving similar purposes, but I think there's something that is often missed with all communication on social media, and people tend to treat all of it with in a far too relaxed way, and I think there is a very great danger with it, that you can blow your brand by doing something that you would not have done in any other medium. If you're on LinkedIn, for example, then you would probably be a little more formal and perhaps a little more businesslike than you would be on Facebook, and that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. But the same rules need to apply to every format. I think you need to be just as strict with your corporate message on Facebook as you would be on LinkedIn, as you would be on a website, as you would have been in what we might now consider to be an old-fashioned brochure. The wording needs to be correct. It's very easy to slip into, when you're on Facebook, to slip into vernacular language that is not business type language, and you can get away with it to some extent, but it's very easy to go too far. It's very easy, for example, to use language that some people would find offensive. It's very easy to voice, for example, if you voice a political opinion, if you voice something, you say something against Donald Trump, for example, right now, you have just turned off half your audience, which is not a good thing to do. It's not a good place to be voicing those sort of opinions, in my opinion. And we were talking earlier on about marketing, and marketing is everything to do with the product and the way in which it's promoted, the price of it, and so on. And it's very easy in an inadvertent way to completely destroy your brand and your marketing by simply saying something that you shouldn't have said because you were being a little bit too relaxed on social media. And I've seen so many social media posts, particularly on Facebook, that have been made by people that I know through business, that have made those comments clearly, if you understand me, after a good dinner. And really, if you've been tackling the Merlot, you really shouldn't be posting anything on Facebook. And that's just my little warning.
I think it's
related to what Steve was saying, I think it's very important to hire a community manager, because they are professionals and they will be able to guide you and to show you the way. If you are going to invest in social media, you will have to plan the schedule, the contents. There's a lot of work to do. So I don't think to do it ourselves it's the best. I think it's important to work with a professional.
Maria, you bring up a couple of very important subjects. One is this something we should engage the professionals to help us with? And the other is, where are the lines between our personal social media presence and our company's social media presence? So I think what Steve is alluding to is that the lines are very, very thin. So if you work for a particular company, either whether you are the owner or you are part of the staff, you're projecting an image for your company if you're associating your personal image to the company. And so the warnings that he's giving are very important, which is engaging in discussions about particular topics are going to make a reflection and an impression and a perception on your audience. So we've got to be very careful.
Yeah, Ray, it's Brian.
Ray, I would go. Sorry, I would go as far as to say that those lines don't exist. If you choose to accept friends into your Facebook account that are business, that you know through business, then there is no dividing line at all.
Yeah. So Ray, I would add to that what Steve said, and it's a really good discussion. Is one of the ways for us and our clients that are movers to think about Facebook is Facebook. You want to think about the content and the audience. Facebook has done today at this point an amazing job of allowing any of us to choose if you want to advertise, especially, and Facebook is very inexpensive, to segment to an extreme detail the audience you want to select. So one of the ways that it gets frustrating for movers is they post, here's another great move that we did. Look at this, look at that. Everyone knows that's just, patting ourselves on the back, and the people that will like it are your friends anyway. But there is a way to use Facebook very effectively if you have the right content and you select the audience, and then you get that audience to engage, meaning they click and they come to your website. You're now building your brand. It's very, very effective. And you will also see that you gain actual customers that way. So back to your point, every different avenue can be successful, and Facebook in itself can be very successful if used properly, thinking about audience and content.
So let's talk about the other part of Maria's comment, which is this something best left to the professionals, or at least should we be engaging professionals to give us advice? Here's the reality. We're small to medium-sized enterprises, most of us. And for us to engage professionals, we're very cautious because, especially right now, we're watching every single expense, understandably. So how do we do this? How do we get started in some way rather than doing an amateur effort and trying to do it on our own? How do we get a bit more professional about it without breaking the bank?
Well, right. I think I can step in that one. That's what we've been doing for almost 15 years. We are online professionals and we own more than 70 websites in more than 8 languages, I believe, at the moment. So that's basically our job, to get the customer in the right path of the customer journey, for them to click in one of our websites, then fill out the information for the service they required, and then we send that information to you guys. So you basically save the cost. You don't need that huge investment that Maria was talking, for example, about having a community manager. In the end, you get more or less the same result. That's a bit my point of view about this situation.
Okay, Raul, can you identify your company for everybody and what it is exactly that your company does?
Yeah, I work in Try Global. We're a Dutch company that has been providing leads for the moving industry for more than 15 years, and we are members of different moving associations such as PIMA, IAM, or FEDEM.
Okay.
So that's basically what we do.
Okay.
We also provide different additional services. We also provide different services to help the online visibility, from a review platform to load exchange programs to more alternative, just to help the efficiency of the industry.
So I'm so glad you're here. So thank you for joining us in this discussion, because it's a very important aspect of what we need to talk about. Online companies like yourselves, and I don't know if the term lead aggregator is appropriate or one that you describe yourself as, but in some ways, our industry has a love-hate relationship with lead aggregators. On the one hand, we can't afford to do our own search engine optimization and create our own brand. Quite frankly, we can't afford to do it. We don't have the resources to do it ourselves. So professional companies like yours have come into the space to offer this as a service. You aggregate those leads through professionally designed websites that appear in searches strategically, yeah? And then when you receive those lead inquiries from the customer, you then package it and you sell it to the moving industry. And some companies in our space, I know, rely very, very heavily on this, and it's a successful part of how they're building their business, yeah? And then there's another side of it, Raul. So, take this the right way, but some moving companies say the quality of the leads is very poor, that if they get 10 leads, that 7 of them are really not qualified leads, and that the filtering that they have to do and the competition that's involved with the other movers that have been sold the same lead. Those are concerns that are expressed. So I'll throw that out there for discussion. Any of you have experience with companies like TriGlobal, and what are your experiences? Give us your comments.
Yes, I'm gonna jump in. So basically, we're using like 2 or 3 different lead companies, but the problem that comes the more often is that they send the leads to like 10 or 15 competitors. So it's really difficult for us to actually, get the confirmation or confirm a move with them, because there's so many moving company in competition that, yeah, that's a problem that we have. I don't know with TriGlobal how you work it out. Like, do you send it to 2 or 3? Do you limit yourself to a number of moving companies? How does it work, Raul?
Well, for us, we match to maximum 5 movers in total. So that's actually a third of what you mentioned in this case. And also, I mean, one comment I have to say about that. When a customer is doing an online search, so for example, I want to move from Spain to the Netherlands. When I go online, I don't have 5, 10, or 15. I have 150 minimum moving companies available that may or may not catch my attention. So in the end, when you're talking about 10 movers as a competition, in the end, it's already a very limited pool when compare what the customer finds online when doing a search. So see the advantage that also has a lot of advantage when you are competing with 10, and we only match to 5, but also 10 would be a limited competition. So think about how broad the market is when someone is doing online searches. And I think Brian probably is nodding with his head. He probably has a lot of insights about this topic, and I think this is the way we have to start seeing this.
Yeah, I think, you make a really good point, Raul. And the way I would approach it is this, is there's room for all of this. There's a legitimate, you said it great, Ray, which is, what do? I have a limited budget. And working with us is, it is not inexpensive, but it works. So there's a grouping. If you're a very small company, you're not going to afford to hire us to do exactly the same thing, except the difference is what Raul's doing is he's doing it across the whole globe. So if we have a client that's covering, Colombia or Boston, that's our focus. And we're essentially creating that engine in that area. But there's also a mindset that I think Raul understands and we understand, and we all play in the same thing, which is the business model for a lead aggregator, which makes sense, is I need to have movers as clients who I sell those leads to, and I can't just sell them to one guy. So just by nature of it, they're going to go out to up to say 5 people. Also, generally speaking, and I'm not familiar with their websites, the way you get people is just like insurance or anything, is I'm going to get you a lot of quotes, so that that potential client becomes kind of a commodity. So everyone's calling him real quick and saying we can do it the least expensive. We do it a little different way. I talked about the journey someone's going to go into. So if I'm searching best suburbs in Boston and they land on my client's website, which is just one of hundreds of ways they might land on it, they're not reaching out to 10 different people. They've gone to that one customer. So there's room for all of it. There's room for all of it. They're just different. But to your point, if you're going to work with our company, you can't be a tiny guy. We're just not going to be able to do it for you. But there's also, do you want to make money or save money? So there is kind of that balance.
So that's very good. It's a good discussion with valid points.
If you allow me to add something, because I understand digital marketing is a big topic, so we can hardly touch maybe part of it, and maybe nothing in 1 hour. So I'd just like to, give again, put some ideas on the table and at least list which are the main channels when we talk about digital marketing, because, many times, in my opinion, a big mistake is that when we think about digital marketing, it's just social medias or something like that. But I prepared a sort of short list of what we can consider channels for digital marketing. And then it's up to each and every one of you to determine what is best for your company, what is the best way to start, what is affordable or not, and then maybe some of the topics that I will launch on the table now, you already do it, and you do it well. So up to you. So I'm just listing so everyone can be familiar with the main topics that we can consider part of digital marketing, right? So I would say, since we already discussed it, social medias. And when we talk about social medias, we talked about Facebook. As Brian said, Facebook is an exceptional tool if you put ads on it. So if you pay for your click, but there's so many other social medias, LinkedIn, Instagram, Twitter. It depends on what you need. Now TikTok is booming. And of course, we have to be cautious about how to use it, but just to name some. Then we have, and Steve can support here, we have magazines, which are now more than ever online magazines and portals where you can be visible and you want to put contents on it. Then we have what we call email marketing, direct email marketing. I see lots of emails coming from partners from all over the world. And remember that email marketing can be towards your partners, your clients, and your suppliers, even in your country. So everything can be a direct email. And this tool is strictly connected to what we call the funnel marketing. Because once you have your client to go to your page, either it's a landing page or your website, and leave their contact to your page, then they are linked with you. You don't want to lose this connection. You want to nurture them. You want to send automatic emails to them to feed them with contents. And you can do it automatically. Then we have lead generators, as Raul explained. There are many. Now Raul is with Rick Global, and we personally use them. So I believe they're working very well. But there's many. So you may want to check who's best and who's work better for you. And that's an option because it's not very expensive. And to start to receive leads is kind of very effective. What else do we have? Brian can support here. We have pay-per-click. So we can buy ads on, let's say, Facebook, as we said, or Google, without investing a lot of money on our search engine optimization. You just pay for the click. Not to forget the importance of the website. I see a lot of websites that are old, they're not renewed, and the contents on website are kind of not really good. The website is very important, especially the part where your customer may request information, quote, and especially the part that talks about who you are. So you may want to check your website and see if you are up to date. And then other than that, I mean, as Brian said, there is, of course, the search engine optimization, which requires time and big investments. So you may want to start little and then increase year by year, but at least at the end of the road, you get organic leads, which are so important because they're very qualified the way you want. All of this is connected, as Brian said, with what we call the customer journey. Because first of all, the customer will look for, awareness. He wants to know who you are, how to find you. And then he gets information. Now with internet, it's so easy. They get a lot of information about who you are. Then once they request the information and get the feedback from you, they have a phase where they consider, they take their decision. And then eventually they buy. So this is to give you a full picture of digital marketing and the customer experience. So now that you know what are the channels, and now that you know what is the customer journey, you meant to want to pick the best tool for your company and for your budget.
Thank you very much for that, Francesco. I think it's been very useful. So how do we make sense of this? Because we're small to medium-sized enterprises. We don't have a lot of resources. Francesco, can you tell us, it's your company, and we're all going to acknowledge that we look up to your company in terms of a small to medium-sized enterprise that's doing it right on the marketing side. So what are the resources that you have? Do you have people on staff, or are you engaging professional companies? How do you do it?
Right now, both. So we have a team of 5 people working only on marketing in the company, and we are a small, medium-sized company. So we're not a large corporation. We're not like hundreds of people working in the company, but we still keep our own. Plus, we have external professionals to work on something. And this is now. Of course, when I started all this, and I had clear in my mind what was the full portfolio for my digital marketing. So basically what I discussed, what I listed a few minutes ago, I started very, very lean. So with few actions, not very expensive. One of these was the lead generators, because they were affordable and they helped me to build like leads. What we needed are leads. We cannot deny that. And then, of course, I started to be more active in producing contents, because basically it costs nothing other than time. So if you can find the time after work, instead of watching a TV series, and you produce a good content, because we all know what we're talking about. I mean, that's our job. We produce content and we post them. So I started very lean. I selected just 2 or 3 main topics on digital marketing, and I started with that, with no big investments. And then, of course, year by year, I try to implement new things until I have my portfolio full. And you can invest more and more and more. It never ends. The more you invest, the more you get back.
So there you go. There's 2 things to take away from that conversation. One is you can start in a small way, yeah, and work your way up. But here's a medium-sized enterprise, I would say, at Bliss Corporation, and they have 5 people on staff that are devoted to brand management and marketing activities. And obviously, it pays. Otherwise, Francesco would not be investing in those expenses. And it's not a small expense that we're talking about, right? But the dividends are there, or he wouldn't be doing it.
Ray, if
Yes.
I may, I completely agree with what Francesco said, and I'll give you some actual numbers around some of this, because our team does this constantly, and we talk to movers that are just starting out all the way to, we have clients that do 100 million a year. I would round it out by saying that if you are a company that just, I'm going to pick a number, somewhere in the range of less than 500,000 a year US gross sales, just kind of in that range, I would not hire a company like ours to do your SEO. I would stick to buying leads. I would work with companies like Raul's. And I think the thing that I will bet you that Francesco will tell you is, if you're going to buy leads, have a system for managing and processing those leads. It's not just buying the leads, and that's another discussion. But if you have a system for managing those leads, buying leads, you can make money. The next thing I would do is I would seriously look at doing Facebook ads. It's very inexpensive to do, and you don't have to hire a company like ours to do it. Then I would look at doing paid advertising on Google, paid per click. That's a very effective way. You can get by with a budget of $1,000 or $2,000 a month, and you're going to get a different quality client than you do when you just buy leads. Then later, you can look at hiring a company like ours. And we turned away a lot of business this way, because to properly do SEO, and Francesco is probably a good writer, and he's been able to grow his business with the content. But most of what we see, I hate to say it, you're going to be competing with companies like ours and other institutional companies. You're not going to outrank us on the first page. It's just probably not going to happen. I hate to say it. And the competition today is so strong because the value is there. So my personal opinion, and I'd love to hear what the other professionals think in here, is I would be buying leads if I'm smaller, right? Sort of the 500,000 US and below, and then buying Facebook ads and then doing pay per click. And as you grow, bring on a company like ours that is going to grow your organic, which is the best long-term solution. So curious what other people.
Excellent. Hey, Brian, I'm sorry, Brian, are your services just for US-based companies, or do you serve global companies?
No, we've always been global, and I was a member of IAM. Now we don't at this point have anyone global, but as long Google works the same no matter what country it's. And I see one of our potential clients on here, right? Actually two, but we can do global, yes. But right now all our clients are US based.
Thank you, Steve.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that, you know, from my point of view, I look at these things from a slightly different perspective, because my magazine is looking at the trade rather than at the public. And of course, within the moving industry, then we have customers that are within the trade as well. The trade are important customers. We're suppliers to them. Everybody is both a customer to a customer of and a supplier to everybody else. And I think it's very important, if we are doing this kind of promotion through the various digital outlets, that we make the best use of the information that we have. And as everybody has said, the resources that we all have are limited, and so the key to it is the content. You've got to have, if you're going to post something on Facebook or on LinkedIn or whatever, you've got to have something has happened. You've got to have something to say. But once you have that thing to say, then you can do an awful lot with it. And I find, and I've spoken to people that are doing the same kind of job as me, you know, people like Will from the portal and Dominic from the 3D Focus, and these sort of people who feel to some extent as if the mainstream media is being to some extent ignored in all of this, because very often I will look on social media and I'll see that somebody has posted a story, and I'll think, well, actually, that's a really good story. If they'd have sent it to me, I would have used that as well. And if you think about it, if you post something on social media, you say, you know, here is something that we have done, aren't we clever? Well, the readers would be forgiven for thinking, well, they would say that, wouldn't they? I mean, you're talking about yourself. However, if you say it to me, and then I think that's good, and I publish it, both in my magazine and through the social media outlets that we have, that's not you saying it. That's me saying it about you, which is far more powerful. And there has been a lot of publicity over the years about how platforms such as Facebook are not responsible for their own content. Well, I promise you, I am responsible for my content. And so if somebody reads something in my magazine, they know that it is true, or at least they know that I've done the best that I can to ensure that it is true, because if it's not, then I'm in serious trouble. And so I think it's very important to recognize that. And that third-party recommendation, if you like, is very, very powerful. And the thing is that people have already done the work by posting the article on social media, but they then don't send it to this other group, people like me and Dominic and William, who can give it this third-party lift as well. And of course, once something has been published in a magazine, then there's no reason why you can't link your own social media to the fact that it's been published in a magazine as well. That way you get a second bite of the cherry, you get a second use of it for when it's published later. And of course, don't forget, if you've written that story, then you can post it on your own websites too. You can have a news page on your own website and use it there. Most news pages, most websites in this industry do not have news pages. And the ones that do have news pages have got news that isn't news because it's 2 years out of date. But yet people are posting things on social media the whole time and are not using that. And so they're completely missing all these opportunities to use that one piece of information many, many times. And all they do is put it on social media and think they've done the job. Well, I'm sorry, guys, but you're missing a trick.
Very good. So thank you for that, Steve. I mean, that's some really great advice. And here's something that we should all take away from this discussion. The Mover magazine has a wide reach, especially within the industry. And here's the editor saying, send me your stories, I'll get you in print. And he's not asking for your money yet.
I think you did.
I'm gonna turn off this one gentleman over here. Mute, okay. And that is Fabiano. Please leave your microphone off unless you're ready to speak to us. Okay.
Great, can I jump in?
Yes, please.
Perfect. Hi, everybody. I was actually just wanting to comment on something Francesco mentioned before about your website. So I'm actually Raul's colleague, so also from the lead provider, but not talking about leads, just about your own websites. What I often see is that a lot of movers, you have to create your website so that the user can use it as easily as possible. Users are lazy, so when they come to your website, then they don't find the contact form right away. Yeah, they probably leave quickly. So what we've realized from working with consumers, you have to make it as easy as possible for them to reach you and to find, yeah, just a way to contact you. So when I often look at Mover's website, I miss, not all of them, of course, but just think of the usability from the user perspective. So really think, okay, if I were a user on this website, what do I want to see? Do I want to see the whole history of the company, or do I want a quick a button where I can find a request, maybe give them offer? Can I book in, you know, consumers are different. Some want the personal contact, they want to book an appointment with you. Other are really millennials and they don't want any personal contact, they just want a price, so they actually want a quote form where they can reach you per email. Reach different people in different ways, make it easy to give them a choice of, hey, I want you to call me, or I want you to send you an email. If you have, put a whole pricing possibility so they can put in all their details if they have them, and you can send them a price order. People are different, and you can definitely arrange your website in a way that, yeah, people can find what they want. And that's just a tip I have here. Sit with your IT guy or sit with your IT company just for a day and look at your website from a consumer perspective and from a user perspective, seeing, is this what I would want to see if I'm a user? Just a quick tip that I had to think of when Francesco mentioned looking at your own website and maybe seeing what you can update here, upgrade.
Very good. Thank you, Elena, for that. That's great advice, and I think advice that we can all use. We're approaching 11:54, and I think we could go on for another few hours, but we don't have that luxury, and I'm respectful of your time. But one thing I've learned through this discussion is we should make this a series. What do you think of that? Because you can't cover this discussion in an hour. All we've done is opened up the bottle and all these things came out that we want to know more about. And the great thing about the IAM and the great thing about an online meeting platform is we have a vehicle where we can share our expertise. Look at what we did today. We've had people from different companies, different service providers, professionals who are involved in this space, and they're sharing their information with us. Not necessarily as advertisements, but they're sharing their experience. It's great advice that's coming out. So what I'm going to take away from this, and I hope you will, I'm going to record this and set it up as a on-demand event, and there'll be a discussion there. And you can continue the discussion, talk to our panelists there and everything else. But one of the things I'm hoping for is a resounding vote on your part that let's make this a series. Let's continue the discussion, because we can't do all of this in 1 hour. There's more to cover. And I think if we make the time, we can all learn from each other. What do you think of that?
Yes.
Yeah? Good.
Yeah, that would be great.
Yeah, great idea.
Very good. Okay, because I have this whole list of other things that I thought I was going to have to cede the discussion about data analytics and all this other stuff, but we didn't need that, because you're all engaged and you're all obviously very passionate about wanting to learn more, and we've got experts that we can attract to this forum where we can share. Okay, so before I sign off, any final comments anybody want to make? Okay. All right. Very good. Yes, please.
I would just like to suggest something for the next meeting, because one of the main challenges I find when advertising online is because we must target our public. And digital marketing is all about public. So when we have to advertise for either a company or for a person, we must choose wisely, because somebody who's willing to move, they usually will move only once. So if you need to move a house, you move only once or twice in your whole life, maybe. And so this kind of person, this kind of public, they will use your service for only one or two times, no more than that. And of course, that depending on your service that you provide them, he's going to advertise your company for the friends and family and everybody he knows. But advertising for a company who has the clients, who has a staff, they are usually moving from a country to another or to a city, from a city to another, can be more effective. So it's very important to choose how to invest your money and how you're gonna advertise for these two kind of public. Of course, you cannot neglect either of them. You must advertise for both of these publics. But if you have a low budget, it's very important to know how to and when to advertise to either of these publics. So I believe this is going to be a good talk for the next meeting.
Very good. I think we have a lot of topics to cover at the next meeting. So my commitment to you is this: we'll invite you back, and hopefully you'll tell your friends. We'll get a few more people and experts involved, and we'll continue this discussion. So with that, thank you so much, and we'll see you at the next one.
Thanks, Ray.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Ray.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.